Delegates from 9 colonies met here in City Hall in 1765 to protest English stamp taxes and to fire what would become the opening political salvo of the American Revolution. This was not the first time, nor the last, that this site would host events critical in America's history. New York City Hall, the first of 3 significant buildings to stand here, was erected between 1699 and 1702. While awaiting completion of their new quarters, city officials conducted business wherever they could find space, often in nearby taverns. City government was only one of the functions housed in this structure. In addition to the City Common Council and the Mayor's Court, the building quartered the Provincial Assembly and, representing English authority in this colony, the Supreme Court of Judicature and the Governor's Council. The 3rd floor attic of the City Hall served as a jail. John Peter Zenger, newspaper publisher, was held here prior to his trial in 1735. His acquittal of the charge of libel against the royal governor established the concept of freedom of the press in the colonies. 30 years later, another major step toward freedom was taken when the Stamp Act Congress met here in City Hall. When the Revolution broke out, City Hall became the target of hostility against British rule, represented by the Royal Coat of Arms. This symbol was ripped from the building by American patriots in July 1776. That same night, a defiant crowd toppled the statue of King George III. The British, gaining control of New York by the fall of 1776, converted City Hall into an arsenal. It was not until November 25, 1783, that British occupation ended, when General Washington again took possession of New York City. For a short time after the war, the New York State Legislature met in City Hall. Then, from 1785 until 1788, the building served its final function as home of the Confederation Congress, independent America's first faltering attempt at a national government. On April 30th, 1789, George Washington took the oath of office to become the first president of the United States, thus inaugurating a strong national government under the brand new Constitution. The place? The balcony in front of Federal Hall. Cannon boomed in salute, church bells pealed, and a tumultuous crowd shouted over and over again, "Long live George Washington, and God bless our president." Our new nation's flag was hoisted over its first capital. Edging out other cities in the competition to become the nation's capital, New Yorkers raised and voted a total of $65,000 to refurbish the old City Hall building. The remodeled structure boasted an imposing facade. Meeting here, the first Congress under the Constitution had many laws to pass to breathe life into the new government. Among these were laws creating the executive departments and the first cabinet. President Washington appointed to head these departments such men as Alexander Hamilton, Secretary of the Treasury. The President's office was also located in Federal Hall, and there he received a host of bills for his signature. Among them was an act establishing the Supreme Court and federal judicial system, and a draft of the Bill of Rights to be sent to the states for ratification. After serving 17 months as the United States Capitol, Federal Hall reverted to city and state use. Vice President John Adams transferred title of most of the elegant furnishings to the city of New York. New York again used this building as a city hall. Early in the 19th century, New York City moved the seat of its government to its present site, further uptown. The historic old Federal Hall, having fallen into disuse and disrepair, was purchased for a mere $425 for demolition salvage. By 1850, Wall Street had developed into a bustling center of the nation's financial activity. Symbolic of this growth and change was the construction of an architecturally impressive customs house on this site, formerly occupied by City Hall and Federal Hall. But the past was not forgotten. On a rainy day in 1883, President Chester A. Arthur unveiled a monument to that past. The crowd was sparse as this statue of Washington was publicly revealed for the first time. Weighing nearly 3 tons and towering 12.5 feet high, this imposing figure marks the spot where Washington took his oath of office. The $35,000 bronze tribute to the nation's first president was the work of sculptor John Quincy Adams Ward, a leading exponent of the new realistic school of American art. This statue has been considered not only Ward's finest work, but the outstanding sculptural representation of Washington. Completed in 1842, this building, in which you are now standing, served as the New York Customs House for 20 years. It remains today substantially as it was in the era when merchants conducted their import trading in the huge rotunda. Architects Ithiel Town and Alexander Davis designed the exterior of this classic Greek Revival structure. Architect-sculptor John Frazee planned the detail work for the interior. Converting the drawings into the marble, granite, and brick building which stands here to this day required 8 years. In 1862, the customs operation moved to another location. This building then became a unit of the U.S. Sub-Treasury System, a forerunner of the Federal Reserve. This sub-treasury handled 70% of all government disbursements. Coins were counted by hand, and on a single day in 1869, the clerks tallied a record of almost $103 million. During the First World War, Mary Pickford, Douglas Fairbanks Sr., and other film stars of the day sold hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of Liberty bonds from the steps of the sub-treasury building. By 1920, the sub-treasury had closed, and in 1939, this building was designated a National Historic Shrine. In 1955, legislation creating the Federal Hall National Memorial became effective. Thus, with the exception of relatively short intervals, this site has served colonial, local, and federal governments since 1700.